yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Beat in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Pay for their disease. Just like a weed.
Ladies and gents, I am the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to a very special edition Sunday stream. We are streaming live on 3 different platforms, 6 different accounts, and boy, oh boy, do we got a lot of material to discuss here today. Plenty of big-time topics within the pro wrestling world to discuss, and I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to hear what I got to say about the monumental return that shocked the system last night at Survivor Series. As of course, you already know who I am. I am the one and only DJ Storms, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the Best Damn X, formerly known as Twitter handle, known to mankind. This is the official rewind for WWE Survivor Series 2023 with a little Rampage and Collision review as well. I was able to watch Rampage before Survivor Series, and then I watched Collision this morning. We're going to be talking about all 3 wrestling shows that took place last night. Obviously, Rampage and Collision took place on TNT, and of course, Survivor Series took place on Peacock from Chicago, while Rampage and Collision emanated from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you all, as per usual. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you stopping by, taking the time to show DJ Shizzle Dizzle some support. I'm going to quickly go over the self-brand promotion, the advertisements. You already know the drill. Follow me on X and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. You can add me on my personal Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, stormstakeover@gmail.com, like the official DJ Storms business page. And I made you send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description, as well as the links to my sponsorships, PWP Nation. Go check out the website and the Facebook page. Brittany K. She's a wonderful woman, big supporter of the channel. Go check her out on Twitter and Instagram. Her Twitter is BrittanyK5150. Her Instagram is BrittanyK Designs. You can add her on social media and hit her up for all graphic designs for any pro wrestlers that you would like, and new Twitter abbeys and banners. And of course, corporate information systems for all your hiring needs. Go check them out. The website is www.cisrecruiters.com. Go check out the Lightning Flash update if you missed it. That was from yesterday afternoon before Rampage, Collision, and Survivor Series. Go check out the Lightning Flash update where we talked about the last week worth of wrestling, and we talked about some news, rumors, and reports, including big plans for Dragon Lee. We talked about Hulk Hogan's son, Nick Hogan, getting arrested. We talked about MJF and him quietly re-signing a new deal with AEW, and plenty more. I see we got Peanuts, we got Sarah Hapka. I'm sure we'll get plenty more people filing on in. Do not forget, if you have not already done so, please like the stream, whether you're watching on X, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Share it out on all platforms, social media. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching on the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel or my YouTube channel, because we want to grow, we want to expand, we want to be the #1 brand in all of sports analytics. And of course, DJ Storms, I run the IWC. You already know that. We want to make sure that everyone knows that. So hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell so that way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because you already know when I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube because I'm the tastiest snack in the IWC. Everybody wants a piece of the Storm's Meister. Normally I would go in order. Normally, I'd probably talk about Rampage because I watched Rampage first. Then I watched Survivor Series. Then I watched Collision. So normally I would go in order. I don't normally go out of structure just because I'm a creature of habit. I like my material, no matter whether it be my work schedule or my brand schedule or just my day in general. I like things to be very, very structured. I like to know what I'm going to say. I like to know what I'm getting into. I like to know what I'm about to do. But I guess in this case, this is one of those scenarios where I guess I have to talk about the major happening that took place last night at Survivor Series. So we'll talk about that first. CM Punk. CM Punk legitimately shocked the system. Little shout out to the former Undisputed Era boys. Shocked the system, shocked the world, stunned everyone, shook the Allstate Arena, whatever you want to call it. CM Punk stunned the world, and CM Punk made his return to WWE after nearly a decade away. He came out at the end of the show. We had Team Cody defeating the Judgment Day inside War Games. The copyright logo showed up right at the bottom right hand of the screen. All of a sudden, you hear the record scratch. Cult of Personality hits. The crowd absolutely goes insane. And you have to imagine that Triple H probably told the production crew, hey, turn the mics up on the crowd. The pop was unbelievable. I was literally taking my notes, getting ready to wrap up the show, taking my notes, writing down the last few moves of the War Games match. All of a sudden, I hear the record scratch. Cult of Personality hits the PA system. My head shoots up. I get a cold shiver running down my spine. It was legitimately like hell froze over. Legitimately like hell froze over. CM Punk then comes through the curtain. Crowd is chanting, holy shit, holy shit. CM Punk is just soaking it all in. And that was the way that the show went off the air. The commentators didn't even say anything. And apparently, nobody knew about it. It all came together last minute. Triple H, on the press conference for Survivor Series, said that it all came together last minute. And it came together very quick. And no one knew about it except for himself, CM Punk, and Nick Khan. 3-4 people probably knew about it. I see some people who are very, very happy about it. I see some people who are angry about it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really understand why people are so mad about it. I don't really understand why people are so mad about CM Punk showing up at Survivor Series. I'm not mad about it. If you are a fan of professional wrestling, why would you even contemplate getting pissy or angry or upset over the fact that Phil Brooks showed up back in World Wrestling Entertainment at Survivor Series? I'm not mad about it. You want to know what I'm mad about? The only thing that I'm mad about is the fact that in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to have to do World of Wrestling episode number 4 with Jay Leto, and I'm going to have to listen to him preach this anti-AEW bullshit about how AEW is going to be gone in a couple years, and I got to listen to him gargle on the WWE bull stack for the 2 hours that we do that stream. Not to take anything away from him as a man. Not to take anything away from him as a human being. I've told this to him straight up face to face when we went to have steaks a month ago, and I'll say this on camera. Do not misconstrue my words for personal hatred for him. I have no ill will towards Jay Leto as a man. I have no ill will towards Jay Leto as a human being. Jay Leto is easily one of the best individuals in this entire state of New Jersey. He's easily one of the best individuals that I've ever met off of social media. He's a very knowledgeable human being. He's a very chill guy. In some aspects, he's becoming like an older brother to me. As a man, I got the utmost respect for him. As a wrestling fan, holy Christ, the dude is fucking insufferable. That's what I'm mad about. But I'm not mad that CM Punk showed up. I'm happy that Punk's back. You know why? I'm happy that CM Punk is back for one reason and one reason specifically. And Sarah Hapka pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. She's going off in the comment section. She's going off in the chat right now. She pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. I don't want to take anything away from Triple H and who he is as a booker, as a promoter. Ever since Vince McMahon was shunned away by Ari Emanuel and Triple H was knighted as the head of creative, the shows have been better. The shows have been better. But regardless if the shows have been better or not, it doesn't change the fact that WWE TV right now, even though it may be better than what we were getting under Vince, WWE television right now is just not exciting. WWE television right now has no real energy. It doesn't have any real intrigue. It's bland. It's formulaic. It's repetitive. And a large part of that has to do with the fact that there's a brand split going on. And I have been stating this for God knows how long. I don't know who the fuck thinks that a brand split is still necessary. I, honest to God, do not know how anyone that watches WWE can look at anyone with a straight face and say that a brand split is needed. The roster is not big enough for a brand split with the WWE. Maybe in 2016, 2017 they were. Now, no. The landscape of professional wrestling has changed drastically, whether it be people getting fired, people getting released, people wanting to move on, AEW coming into existence, and AEW pretty much becoming big, and they're pretty much right there with WWE. They're the top two wrestling promotions in the world. There are so many places for professional wrestlers to go and work now. WWE is not the end-all be-all anymore, so the roster has drastically shrunk in size for one reason or another. We've seen the same matches over and over and over again for God knows how many weeks. How many weeks do we need to watch SmackDown to see LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso? How many weeks on Raw do we need to sit there and watch various iterations and various mix matches of DIY versus Imperium? How many weeks on SmackDown do we need to watch the same three women play Ring Around the Rosie in the women's title picture? Charlotte, Bianca, Io, Charlotte, Bianca, Charlotte, Io, Bianca, Bianca, Io, Charlotte. Over and over and over again. How many weeks? How many weeks on Monday Night Raw? How many months on Monday Night Raw? How many months do we need to sit there on a Monday night after a long day at work, turn on Monday Night Raw, and watch the same match in the main event of Monday Night Raw every week, with the Judgment Day taking on some sort of combination of Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn? It's repetitive, it is boring, it is formulaic, it is overdone. It's overdone, and a lot of people are tired of it. But with CM Punk back, CM Punk gives WWE that shot of adrenaline in the arm that they have oh so desperately needed. Because Triple H inherited garbage. Triple H inherited a roster that has been poorly booked for God knows how many years under Vince McMahon, and there's such a negative vibe around the WWE that Triple H is fighting an uphill battle at this very moment. Triple H is fighting an uphill battle to try and break that bad vibe, that negative mentality around the WWE. You can't do that with the roster that you have going round and round and round in a circle. Can't do that. And I really like to genuinely hope that Monday Night Raw stays on the USA Network. I really, really, really like to hope that with SmackDown moving back to the USA Network. I hope that Raw stays on the USA Network, and next year they nix the brand split because it's not needed. But CM Punk has now made WWE television that much more intriguing. I have been stating for God knows how long, ratings don't matter, finances don't matter, views don't matter, money doesn't matter, ticket sales don't matter. None of this bullshit matters. The only thing that matters is if the networks are happy. USA seems to be happy with WWE. Warner Brothers seems to be happy with AEW. So shut your fucking mouths. Shut your fucking mouths and move the fuck on. We as fans should only be worried about one thing and one thing only: objective quality. And whether you love them, whether you hate them, whether you can't stand them, or whether you're a mark for them, CM Punk garners attention. CM Punk garners interest. CM Punk makes television objectively better. He did it with AEW when he was there. He did it with Collision when he was there. And he's going to do it with WWE TV. I don't really understand why people would not want that. The only thing that I don't desire any company to go out of business. If you want to be a fucking tribalistic freak, if you want to be a tribalistic freak and be a fucking retard and preach to the high heavens that you want WWE to die or you want AEW to die, go ahead. Make yourself look like a fucking brain-dead retard. I don't give a shit. I don't. Because that is not my priority. I am actually a normal human being with a brain, and I know how to fucking use it. I want good TV, and that is the only thing that you should want too. CM Punk is going to make WWE TV better. Monday Night Raw, by default, just by CM Punk showing up, Monday Night Raw became the most must-see show of the week. More must-see than SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, Ring of Honor, whatever you want to compare against Monday Night Raw. If Punk is on Raw, Raw is now the most must-see show. So why? Why would anyone be mad at that? CM Punk's run in AEW did not turn out the way that we wanted it to. For one reason or another, whether it be because Punk is an overly emotional human being and he does not know how to control himself, whether it be other factors such as antics from the Young Bucks or antics from Jack Perry. But one of the main reasons why CM Punk in AEW didn't work out is because Tony Khan, as great as he is a booker, as good of shows as he has given us this year, as much as AEW has had one of their best pay-per-view years in the short history of their company, in the end, Tony Khan does not know how to manage the egos of the locker room. All it takes is one person throws everything into disarray. Tony Khan did not know how to manage the ego of Phil Brooks. He didn't know how to manage the ego of Phil Brooks, and in the end, Phil Brooks came to blows with the Bucks, came to blows with Jack Perry. Brawl out happened, brawl in happened, and CM Punk lunged at his boss, and Tony Khan had to fire him. Tony Khan does not know how to put his foot down and manage egos. He does not know how to act like a CEO when it comes down to major scenarios like this. He does not know how to manage a promotion if things go wrong. And truth be told, I don't know if he's ever going to do that. I don't know when he is going to bring someone in that actually knows how to do that. I don't. But in the end, Tony Khan, he didn't know how to manage the ego of Phil Brooks. And that's why his run in AEW didn't work out. Triple H and WWE management, they know how to manage the egos in their locker room. There's a lot of ego in that locker room. And you can imagine that there's a lot of people that don't want CM Punk there. They don't like Punk. A lot of people that do like Punk. There's going to be a lot of conflicting opinions and conflicting views about Phil Brooks coming back into the WWE. But in the end, things will remain professional. Things will remain professional. At the end of the day, AEW doesn't need Punk. WWE doesn't need Punk. But WWE needs to put on better shows. WWE needs something to garner interest in themselves. AEW has got the Continental Classic. They got Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. They got whoever the devil is, who is stalking MJF as the devil. They already got what they need to keep the intrigue in their product. WWE needs something to boost the intrigue in their product. Now with Punk back, this drastically changes WrestleMania season. For all we know, CM Punk could end up winning the Royal Rumble. CM Punk could end up winning the Royal Rumble in a match in which I predicted 10 years ago, back in 2014, I actually predicted Punk to win the Royal Rumble that year. He didn't win, and that was his last WWE appearance for the next decade. For all we know, Punk could end up winning the Royal Rumble, and CM Punk could end up fighting Seth Rollins. And wait till you hear the report that I got on Seth Rollins after what happened. Seth Rollins was seen in a fan video flipping off CM Punk, shouting "fuck you" at him, and apparently there was an incident backstage where Rollins was actually looking for Punk, and Triple H had to usher him away. Cooler heads prevailed, but I think it's safe to say that Seth Rollins doesn't like Punk. Dave Meltzer came out and said that it was a work. I don't believe that it's a work at all. There's no way that Seth Rollins knew that CM Punk was coming out. You take a look at the reaction to Seth Rollins, there's no way that that reaction could have been manufactured. There's no way that that reaction was a work. Not a chance. It's going to be a very, very, very intriguing year. 2024 could be one of, if not the most intriguing year for professional wrestling that we have seen in quite some time on both sides of the spectrum. Because now, what I'm wondering is those that were tight with CM Punk and AEW, Triple H is not Vince. And Vince being gone, that was a major reason as to why CM Punk went to WWE. If Vince was still running the WWE, I do not believe for 1 second that CM Punk would have even entertained the idea of going back. But Triple H, he said at the press conference, he's a different person, I'm a different person, this is a different company. Vince isn't there anymore. That's what's different. Vince is not there. Vince was the problem. You take the cancer out. You take the cancer out of the system, and the system is on the road to rehabilitation. Vince McMahon was the problem. Vince McMahon has always been the problem. Now that Vince isn't there anymore, Punk went back. Punk is a little bit more open, and now Punk is going to test the waters over there in WWE, and we could very well see the best version of CM Punk that we have ever seen in the history of his career. And the people that were tight with Punk and AEW, who's to say that they are not going to give WWE a chance and migrate over to WWE when their AEW contracts are up? Who's to say? And on top of that, it could work in the opposite way. It could work in the opposite way too. Because now, with Punk in WWE, if you don't think that there is going to be people that are going to jump ship from both companies, you are sorely mistaken. I don't care what Dave Meltzer said. At the end of the day, I do not need any reports to tell me, or I don't need any reports to not tell me that Seth Rollins doesn't like Punk. I can just see it all over his face. Seth Rollins, Colby Lopez, is not a fan of Phil Brooks. Who's to say that when Seth Rollins' contract is up with the WWE, who's to say that Seth Rollins doesn't migrate over to AEW? Not necessarily to stick it to WWE, but just to get away from Punk, to test the waters over there. You don't think that Seth Rollins would fit like a glove over in AEW? You don't think that Seth Rollins would put on bangers with the likes of Swerve Strickland and Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page? You don't think that Seth Rollins, Tyler Black would be a great fit for AEW? And he'll take his wife, Becky Lynch, and she'll be Rebecca Quinn over there. You don't think that Becky Lynch could be a great fit for the AEW women's division? What about Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, numerous other individuals that I'm not even naming? How many other individuals do not like Punk? in the end, I don't think there's going to be any backstage brawls. There's not going to be any backstage brawls. There's not going to be any physical altercations. There's not going to be any heated confrontations. But I can absolutely see some people that don't like Punk. I can see them not wanting to re-sign with the WWE, potentially asking for their release. Seth Rollins and CM Punk, that is your WrestleMania Night 1 main event. What do you think is going to happen? CM Punk is going to get his main event of WrestleMania that he should have gotten years ago. CM Punk is going to get his main event at WrestleMania that he should have gotten a long, long time ago. Now, with CM Punk back, WrestleMania plans drastically changing. Cody Rhodes is set to fight Roman Reigns. What's going to happen with Punk? He's going to go and fight Seth Rollins. Gunther, at this rate, Gunther may be on a collision course against Chad Gable, and Chad Gable is going to finally slay the dragon known as Gunther at WrestleMania. We all thought that Gunther was going to win the Royal Rumble. Punk has shocked the system drastically. What do you think is going to happen at WrestleMania? CM Punk is going to main event against Seth Rollins, and CM Punk is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. What do you think is going to happen after that? You think Seth Rollins is going to be okay with that? Of course he's not. Of course he's not. He's not going to be happy. Who's to say Seth Rollins won't jump ship to AEW? And with Punk now in WWE, I can see a Ricky Starks jumping ship to WWE when he finish up his run in AEW. When he finishes up his run there, I can see Starks going over. I can see a Wardlow going over. I can see a House of Black going over. They want to experiment there. I can absolutely see that. But CM Punk being back, this is good. This is only good. Because now we have a reason to be excited about WWE TV. You can hate on him all you want. You can call him a hypocrite all you want. And at the end of the day, you know what? He may be a hypocrite, but so are you. Everyone's been a hypocrite at some point in their life. Not me, of course, because I do not go back on my word. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. When I say that I'm not going to do something, I don't do it. I always stick to my word. But everyone else, I mean, come on. Everyone's been a hypocrite at some point in their life. At the end of the day, this is a move that CM Punk is going to have to deal with. This is a move that Triple H is going to have to live with. This is a move that a lot of people in that locker room are going to have to deal with. And this is a move that every single wrestling fan is going to have to deal with. It happened. Who cares? Get over it. Did I think that they were going to do it at Survivor Series? No. I thought that they were going to wait until the Royal Rumble. He was going to make his return at the Royal Rumble, and he was going to win the Royal Rumble. That's what I thought was going to happen. That didn't happen. It didn't happen, and he showed up at Survivor Series. He's the automatic favorite to win the Royal Rumble now. Cool. At the end of the day, it happened. It happened. He's going to have to live with his decision. If he is okay with being called a hypocrite, then people are going to call him a hypocrite, and he's going to be okay with that. CM Punk is there. He's going to have to mend some bridges. He's going to have to apologize to some people. He's going to have to smooth things over with a lot of individuals. But look, Triple H says that he's a different person. Triple H is a different person. It's a different company. It's a different time. It's a different era. CM Punk is back, and that is only going to mean good for professional wrestling. Whether it mean AEW wrestlers jumping ship to WWE or WWE wrestlers jumping ship to AEW. It is going to be very polarizing, but it is going to make the professional wrestling landscape that much more interesting. And now WWE has something that is going to draw us in. The bloodline wasn't cutting it. The bloodline storyline, the well has run dry. The well has run dry. Judgment Day is great, but we have seen God knows how many main events with the Judgment Day on Raw. LA Knight is great, but at the end of the day, his momentum was ruined thanks to a loss against Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Cody Rhodes is great, but I mean, come on. He's been booked like a bum all year, except for the last couple of weeks going into War Games. And now Cody Rhodes can finally get back to being Cody Rhodes when hopefully, cross my fingers, he beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. CM Punk is going to make the WWE product better. He already has. At the end of the day, as a fan, how could you not get goosebumps from that? I don't care whether you love him or you hate him. That moment last night, bone-chilling. That was bone-chilling. The fan in me was probably more excited than I've ever been watching WWE. I have not been this excited watching WWE. I have not been this excited watching the WWE product as a fan probably since, I don't know, probably since the days of Gargano and Ciampa, when they were tearing it up on NXT television back in the day. I have not been this excited as a pro wrestling fan since AEW first came around in 2019. Why would you not be excited about this? This is a great thing for the professional wrestling landscape as a whole. And I am very, very excited to see what happens tomorrow. Survivor Series ended up being a great show as a whole. And I was very, very pleased with what we got. Matter of fact, it was probably one of WWE's best PLEs of the entire year. One of WWE's best PLEs of the entire year, for sure. It's up there. It's up there with Backlash. It's up there with WrestleMania. It's up there with Elimination Chamber. It was a great show. The 2 War Games matches, they delivered. They did exactly what they needed to do. We had a decent little undercard. Couple matches kind of fell flat, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. The women's title match fell flat. Not their fault, but it fell flat. And then Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar, I'm not sure why they were shafted. I'm not sure why we needed the War Games matches to go as long as they went. If anything, who cares if it went over 3 hours? Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar should have gotten more time. But before we get into Survivor Series, we're going to go over Rampage. Thank you very much to Didi and James Punaseka for stopping on by. Please make sure that you share the stream out. Thank you very much to Jeremy Lewis as well. And Grega John, you are awesome. Thank you very much to Adam Carl. Share the stream out. Get some more people in here. We're going to go over Rampage. Rampage took place from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It started at 7. And I'm actually very, very happy that it was live. They've been doing a lot more live Rampages, which I have absolutely zero issue with. Rampage is better live. And on top of that, Rampage is much better at 7. And I really do hope that they continue that going forward. I would love Rampage to be at 7 going forward. We had Hook and Rocky Romero kick off the show. We got a decent little match right here between these two. Always great to see Rocky Romero wrestle. Rocky Romero is a very underrated talent. So both men were on the apron. Rocky Romero delivered a suplex to Hook on the apron. Coming back from commercial, Rocky Romero with the forever clotheslines, a big exploder in the corner, and then a big judo throw by Hook. We had a double wristlock suplex for a 2. Rocky Romero with the diving drop kick for a 2. We had a standing Shiranui, and Hook kicked out again. Rocky went for the Shiranui again, and Hook caught him into the Red Rum, and Rocky did not tap out, but he did pass out. Hook defeats Rocky Romero in a decent little match to kick off the show, and that was pretty much that. I would actually like to see Hook in something a little bit more important. I think we need to get Hook in something a little bit more important. We need to get rid of the FTW Championship. It's not really doing anything of note. It did what it needed to do during the feud between him and Jack Perry, but in the end, I do believe that it is time to get that title off of Hook and to retire it for good, retire it with Taz, and let Hook just do what he does in the ring, get him fighting for some normal championships, and really build up Hook as the future of the business. We had a very nice promo with Wheeler Yuta, and he talked about Katsuyori Shibata, and he talked about how he's been losing sleep for the last 230 plus days over losing the Ring of Honor Pure Championship to Shibata at Supercard of Honor. Yuta then promised to send Shibata back to Japan and promised that he will never come back for the Pure Championship ever again. We need to do more promos like this. I think that these types of sound bites are really, really, really good. Really, really solid stuff. And Yuta came off very well as well. Yuta is not that good of a promo, but he came off very well in this soundbite. So we need more of that. Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander took on Diamante. And I have to say, I was actually really, really, really impressed by Diamante. Diamante, she's really not anything special. She's really not anything over the top, not anything crazy, but Diamante, when she is paired with the right talent, Diamante can wrestle. Diamante brings out a decent match. If anything, this was probably the best match for Diamante that I've seen in a long, long time. Diamante and Chris Statlander, they actually worked very well together. So Statlander was using her power early on against Diamante. We had a power slam by Statlander, and that got a 2. Mercedes Martinez then came out. Statlander continued the pressure on Diamante with a big high knee. Statlander then came in running at Diamante. Diamante delivered a very nice overhead belly-to-belly throw. That got a 2. We had a rolling facebuster by Diamante. Back and forth roll-ups. Another power slam by Statlander for a 2. Diamante with a DDT, spiking Statlander right on the top of her head. And a Shiranui. That got a 2. Very nice combo. Diamante then slapped Statlander. Statlander then uncorked a nasty discus lariat. And she pinned Diamante. 1, 2, 3. Statlander gets the win. Rebound win after losing the TBS championship. Very, very, very solid match. Very good performance by Diamante. Afterwards, Mercedes Martinez attacked, and out came Willow Nightingale to help. That was pretty much that. I'm assuming we're going to get a tag team match at some point. But I mean, we've seen that before. Not really sure where they're going with Chris Statlander. If anything, if not Ronda Rousey, I would love to see Chris Statlander versus Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship at Final Battle. And I would actually like to see Chris Statlander win. I think Chris Statlander could do that Ring of Honor Women's World Championship very, very good. Daniel Garcia, he had a promo on Rampage, and he was talking about how he doesn't really have much momentum, and he used to make the drive up here to Pittsburgh for independent events because he lives in Buffalo. He then feels like a loser, but he's here in this tournament, the Continental Classic, to prove that he is not a loser. So he had a match with Claudio later on Collision, which we will talk about. The Kingdom, they took on 2 bums. Didn't get their names. I didn't care. So they were hyping up No Neck November, and No Neck November is unfortunately coming to an end, but he did say that they will be necking the halls and ringing in a neck-strong New Year. So Taven accused MJF of being the devil. Taven then called out MJF and said that they are coming for what is theirs, and they are coming for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. So I'm assuming that, considering Samoa Joe said MJF is his property, I'm assuming we're going to get Samoa Joe and MJF versus the Kingdom at Final Battle for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. I'm looking forward to it. I think that is a nice pit stop before we get to MJF and Samoa Joe at World's End. And the Kingdom, I don't know how they're going to play this out. I'm not sure how they're going to play this out, but I do believe that we could absolutely see the Kingdom win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles at Final Battle if they want to. If they want to go that route, and if my calculations are correct, if Adam Cole is the devil and he's working with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, then the Kingdom winning the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles would actually make sense, because you can't just have Adam Cole benefit from the partnership between himself, Roderick Strong, and the Kingdom. You need to have the others benefit from it as well. So if we're going to have the Kingdom win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles, that I wouldn't mind. I would not mind that whatsoever, because I think that that would be a nice way to keep their momentum going. And the Kingdom are very good at what they do. I'm not really sure how they're going to get the titles off of Samoa Joe and MJF, because how can Joe lose going into a world title match? How can MJF lose going into a world title match? I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. We'll have to wait and see. But the Kingdom get the win with the Aurora Borealis by Matt Taven, which is a beautiful frog splash. And we got a final battle match seemingly confirmed. All but confirmed. So the Kingdom are coming for MJF and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The main event, Wheeler Yuta, Katsuyori Shibata for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. This was much better than their first match. The first match, I don't want to say it was boring, but the first match that they had back at Supercard of Honor, it was kind of placed. It was placed in a very, very rough spot. It was placed right after the Reach for the Sky ladder match. And that match, I mean, holy shit. That match was absolutely fucking insane. That match was all over the fucking place. High spots everywhere. So I don't really understand how they had it good back then. It went about like 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes. They didn't really have that much of an opportunity to prove to everyone that they can put on a great match. This match was much better because the crowd was much more lively. They were heavily into Shibata, and it was much more fast-paced, much more high-octane, and there was a little bit more intensity in this match versus what we got back at Supercard of Honor. Back at Supercard of Honor, it was a little too technical. But this match was a hell of a lot better. This match was a hell of a lot more hard-hitting, if you know what I mean. So, it was very technical early on, as it usually is with a Shibata match. Shibata had the advantage. We had a figure four by Shibata. Shibata then made Wheeler Yuta use his first rope break off the figure four. Yuta then delivered a closed fist to the face, and that was his first warning. Yuta then with a chop, coming back from commercial, Yuta continued to chop Shibata. Shibata was just absorbing the chops. Shibata then with a stiff forearm, some big chops, fans were loving it, big hesitation drop kick, and a neck lock suplex. That got a 2 count. We then had Yuta getting locked in an ankle lock by Shibata. Shibata then transitioned into an STF. Yuta got to the ropes. That was his second rope break. Yuta then came in with a suicide dive. Shibata then with a PK to Yuta against the barricade. Shibata went for the PK in the ring. Yuta ducked and rolled up Shibata for a 2. Yuta then shoved Shibata into the ref. The ref was knocked down momentarily. Yuta with a low blow, DDT, and a seatbelt pin. And Yuta gets the win over Katsuyori Shibata. Yuta beats Shibata, and he becomes a record 3-time Pure Wrestling champion. So Wheeler Yuta developing quite a decent little legacy for himself. It's just kind of, it's kind of weird for two reasons. Number one, it was kind of weird to see Yuta win this. And I was thinking to myself, well, why didn't they just wait until Final Battle? If they were going to do this title change and they were going to give Yuta a big moment, why didn't they wait till Final Battle in order to give Yuta this moment? Why did they have to exhaust it on a Rampage? Why did they have to exhaust it on a Rampage with little to no build when they could have actually given the win to Yuta on a pay-per-view over Shibata, and that would have gotten him the big win there? The only reason that I could have thought that they could have done this was because maybe they want to make it a hat trick. Maybe they want to do a rubber match. Maybe they wanted to have Shibata win the first match, Yuta wins the second match, and then we get the third match at Final Battle. That is something that I was thinking about. And then a second reason why it's a little weird is because it just kind of feels like Yuta, he's almost hit his ceiling right now. His ceiling is the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. It seems like he could do a little bit more. It seems like he could maybe be the Trios champions with the Blackpool Combat Club, but they haven't really dabbled with the Blackpool Combat Club in the AEW World Trios division. Regardless of that, it was a very good match. It was better than their first. I just wish that they would have waited till Final Battle. Now, I did do some research. And I found the real reason as to why this title change happened. Apparently, this was not a move to try and make people watch Rampage or Collision over Survivor Series like that was ever going to happen. This wasn't a desperation move at ratings. The move was rushed, and this came together last minute. It came together last minute because Shibata needs to take time away from Ring of Honor to return to Japan, according to Fightful Select. The report states that even though Ring of Honor would have liked Shibata to stick around for Final Battle later this year, he was unable to remain in Ring of Honor / AEW for that long because he needed to return to Japan for an extended period as soon as possible. It was noted that Shibata was actually supportive of the angle that took place on Rampage, where he lost the title and then he was saved by Hook. And the idea was that the attack would do just enough that Ring of Honor would be forced to give Shibata an extension or an extended no contact period before he can return to action as a precaution. There isn't much known about the reasoning for Shibata's absence, and it is unclear when he will return to Ring of Honor. Now, this is according to Fightful Select. It was because Shibata needs to rush back to Japan for an emergency. I'm not really sure what that is, but I am going to go with one of two reasons. He either has an issue with his visa or he has a family emergency. Those are the two scenarios that I am coming up with. And if that's the case, then you know what? Fine. If he needs to rush back to Japan for an emergency, then fine. I just kind of wish that things were a little bit different. I wish he could have stuck around till Final Battle. But look, they needed to get the championship off of him. They gave it to Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta's building a nice little legacy for himself as the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. He is now a record 3-time Pure Champion. We'll see how things play out going forward. But going forward, I can't really see Yuta losing that championship anytime soon. Can't really see Yuta losing that championship anytime soon. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Yuta. And Shibata, listen, he needs to take time away. Let him take time away. He'll come back when he is ready. That's your Rampage review. Pretty decent little show. We got ourselves some build towards Final Battle. We got a couple decent matches, and that was pretty much that. Rampage was never going to be a major show. Let's be honest here. Rampage was never going to be an oh my God, you got to go out of your way to watch this show. But at the end of the day, Rampage is still a very decent show when it comes down to it all. And if you guys want to go watch the Pure Championship match, I would encourage you to go watch the Pure Championship match because it's actually a very good match. Let's talk about Survivor Series. Survivor Series took place from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. And it was fucking packed. Absolutely fucking packed. A lot, and I mean a lot of great material. A lot of great material. We had ourselves the Women's War Games kicking off the show. The crowd was hot. All show. And I was very, very happy to see that. Women's War Games. It was Bianca Belair, Shotzi, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch versus Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane. And we got ourselves a match that was much, much, much better than the last year's War Games match. Last year's War Games match, I'm not sure what happened with the women last year. It just kind of seemed off. It was a little too slow. It was a little bit too bland. This year, the women really turned up the adrenaline. This year, things really were amped up. So I was very, very happy to see what we got in the end. Some people were saying that the women actually had a better War Games match than the men. Listen, if you think that, I'm not going to fault you, because the women's War Games match was very, very good. And I was very, very pleased with what the women did. Even though I said that they didn't deserve a War Games just based off of the booking of the women's division, I will admit that the 4 individuals in this match, they did everything in their power to prove to everyone that they were worthy of a War Games. And in the end, the War Games match turned out great. So Bayley and Becky started this off pretty even early on. Crowd was hot. We had Dakota Kai throwing in a kendo stick. Becky was then suplexed by Bayley in between the steel diamond plate in between the 2 rings. We then had the time elapsed, and in came Shotzi. Shotzi then bounced the door off of Bayley's face. She brought in a trash can and a couple of chairs. The crowd chanted, "We want tables." She didn't bring in any tables, and the crowd booed. Shotzi then went for a suicide dive through the ropes, but Bayley caught her in a stunner on the ropes. Becky and Bayley then climbed the cage. Bayley was sent to the floor. We then had Shotzi and Becky with double forearms off of the ropes to Bayley. The time elapsed, and in came the women's champion, Io Sky. Io then brought in a chair. She whipped Shotzi and Becky with it. We had a springboard missile drop kick connecting. Becky then was up top. Io and Bayley went up. We had a double superplex on Becky. The time elapsed. In came Bianca. Bianca then whipped Io and Becky with her braid, which looked brutal. Bianca then dropped Io face first onto a trash can. We then had a spine buster by Bianca. She then backflipped out of the corner and pulled. She had 2 braids. So Bianca had 2 braids. She had Becky was down. Bayley and Io were each grabbing one of the braids. She pulled in Bayley and Io by her braid and then delivered a double DDT to them. That was very nice. All of a sudden, Shotzi came off the top with a splash on Io. Becky came off the top with a leg drop on Bayley. All of a sudden, the time elapsed, and in came Kyrie. She then brought in a trash can lid. She whacked Shotzi with it. Hurricane Rana on Bianca. Sliding elbow against the cage. Damage control then buried Shotzi in a bunch of chairs. And Io launched Kyrie over the top into an insane elbow. Kyrie got some height, I will say that. All of a sudden, Io and Bayley were on one end of the ring, and Bianca military pressed Kyrie Sane through the ropes, over the ropes, from one ring to the other ring, and Kyrie landed right on top of Io and Bayley. That was very nice. The time elapsed. In came Charlotte Flair. Charlotte then took out everyone. She tossed Kyrie into the ropes, powerbombed Io into the cage. Charlotte then with a double natural selection off of the top onto Kyrie and Bayley. Charlotte and Becky then had a face-off. Charlotte then took Io up to the top. Io got out, and Flair went down. She then dropped a chair down onto Kai. So we had a chair. A chair was dropped onto Charlotte, and then we had Io going up to the top. Io went up to the top. She got this long chain, and she threw the chain down to Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai got herself a trash can, and it was like a pulley where Io Sky pulled the trash can up to the top. She got the trash can, put the trash can on top of her head, and in a throwback to the 2020 NXT War Games, we had Io with the trash can on her head. She couldn't see. She jumps off the top onto the pile. Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome spot. The time elapsed, and in came Asuka. Asuka came in, and she brought out a table. Finally, the crowd popped big. Crowd popped big for the table. And then we had ourselves Io. Io, she got up, and Asuka and Io, they were working together. We had everyone started taking out everybody. We had Damage Control with 4 kendo sticks. They all started beating the hell out of the babyface team. The match officially began. We had a fire extinguisher, and we had tables. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Asuka then sprayed blue mist into the face of Shotzi. Asuka then with a drop kick to Becky, sending her into the trash can. Becky and Bianca then powerbombed Io and Bayley. Charlotte went to the top. And Charlotte delivered a moonsault off of the top, taking out Damage Control, which looked great. Finally, Charlotte Flair hits a decent moonsault. We had a cover on Bayley, but Bayley kicked out. Becky and Flair then with a double powerbomb on Kyrie, and then the two women embraced in a hug, finally burying the hatchet. Bayley then with an elbow drop on Charlotte when Charlotte had Io in the figure 8. We then had Bianca and Shotzi with a double team maneuver, an electric chair dropkick combination on Asuka. Bayley saved the match. So it was all out melee. Bayley was trying to save the match at each and every single twist and turn for her team. Bayley tried to save the match. Bayley saved the match for Asuka right then and there. We then had a rose plant on Becky, sliced bread by Shotzi, fire extinguisher by Bianca, sprayed it into the eyes of Asuka. Everyone started taking out everybody. Bayley then saved Kyrie from the spear, and she took the spear by Charlotte Flair. Shotzi then came in with a senton. We had a KOD by Bianca. A table was set up, and then we had Bayley getting thrown up to the top by the opposing team, and Becky Lynch with a manhandle slam off of the top onto Bayley through the table. 1, 2, 3, and the baby faces stand tall. Much better. Much better than last year's Women's War Games match. Much better than last year's Women's War Games match. However, I kind of thought that Damage Control was going to take the win. Only because of the fact that Damage Control, it kind of just seemed like a faction full of jobbers outside of Io. Because Io's the women's champion, and she's actually had some really good matches as of lately. So I actually thought that we were going to see Damage Control get the win here. But I'm not really all too mad that they didn't. Damage Control, realistically, in my eyes, should have won War Games. However, I cannot really complain about Damage Control losing only because of the fact that there's an underlying story here with how they lost. Bayley has had a little bit of a tough time trusting the fact that Kyrie's now in Damage Control and Asuka's now in Damage Control, and we already know that they have a history with the Black Lotus tribe because Asuka and Io and Kyrie were all a faction at one point in Lucha Underground. I love the fact how Bayley was always trying to help her team. Bayley was the team player here. Bayley was going beyond lengths to try and make sure her team did not lose, but yet they still lost anyway with Bayley taking the pin. The exile of Bayley for Damage Control. That right there is going to be a great story that the women's division is telling. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what goes on forward. Because now, the Black Lotus tribe, or whatever they want to call themselves, Kyrie and Io and Asuka, now they have a reason to be a little bit disappointed in Bayley. It's going to be interesting. I can't really complain because we do have an underlying story that more likely than not, it should result in Io versus Bayley at WrestleMania. That's what I'm looking forward to. So after that, we then go into the first undercard match, Gunther and The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. I was actually looking forward to this match. And in the end, we got ourselves a decent Intercontinental title match. It went about 12 and a half minutes. I actually would have loved to see him go an extra 5-6 minutes. That was probably one of my only complaints about Survivor Series. The undercard matches, way too short. I don't really understand how you're going to give me an undercard like you gave me. And you take a look at the 3 undercard matches, they look like NXT TakeOver-like matches, especially Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar and Zoe Stark and Rhea Ripley. How are you only going to give them a minimum of 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes? Each one of those undercard matches should have gone no less than 15. Who cares if it goes over 3 hours? It's a 5-match show. What happened to the days of where we got an undercard match where the undercard actually got 15, 20 minutes? Very, very stupid. But regardless, Miz and Gunther, they actually put together a very good match. Matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this match was probably the best non-War Games match on the show. I got to give my props to The Miz. The Miz has been turning it up this year. And The Miz stood toe-to-toe with Gunther, and The Miz actually put together a very fun IC title match against Gunther. And Gunther continues to shine. Gunther continues to just add to his legacy. Gunther just continues to add to the fact that he is undoubtedly the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Gunther just continues and continues to rank up win after win. And the list of individuals that he's beaten, my God, you take a look at the list of individuals that he's beaten, it's like a who's who of WWE right now. This was a very, very good match. Probably the best non-War Games match on the show. So the story here was the leg of Gunther. It was the leg of Gunther and the back of Miz. The Miz kicked the leg out from underneath Gunther. The Miz was trying to bring out some intensity in himself. The Miz actually delivered a chop. He delivered a chop to Gunther. Gunther didn't look too pleased. So we had a big chop by Gunther. Miz was sent crashing to the mat. Miz then, with punches in the corner, he then slapped Gunther. He then bashed Gunther's leg against the apron and delivered a figure 4 around the ring post. The Miz then went for a springboard, but Gunther caught him with a boot. Gunther then, with some stiff chops, he tried to slow the pace down like Gunther usually does, slowing the pace down. Gunther then with a German suplex and another big boot. Crowd was booing heavily. The Miz then with a Hurricane Rana on Gunther. He reversed the powerbomb into Hurricane Rana. Miz then stomped on Gunther's leg. He continued to kick at the leg, trying to chop down the big man. We had some kicks to the chest by Miz. Miz ducked the clothesline, delivered a satellite DDT. Miz got a 2 count. After the satellite DDT, Gunther with a drop kick, and then a powerbomb to the Miz, and the Miz kicked out of the powerbomb. Miz was then locked in the sleeper. He went to grab the ropes. Instead, he ripped the protective pad off of the turnbuckle. The referee was distracted. Miz with a low blow, skull-crushing finale. The crowd popped big time. The crowd actually thought that that was it. 1, 2, Gunther kicked out. Crowd was hyped up. Gunther with another sleeper. Gunther was then rammed into the exposed turnbuckle. Miz with a roll-up nearly got the win there. We had a clothesline by Gunther. Gunther then went up top. Flying splash to the back of the Miz. Again, working on the back. And then he locked in the Boston Crab. The Miz tried to reach for the ropes. And then Gunther transitioned into a lion tamer with the knee right on the back of the Miz. Lion tamer. And the Miz had no choice but to tap out. Very good match. Very good match. It did exactly what it needed to do. Matter of fact, I was almost a little disappointed that we didn't get another 5 minutes of these two. Because these two, in some weird way, these two were working very, very well together. And it definitely helped. It definitely helped that we had a hot Chicago crowd. But Gunther continues to add to the list of individuals that he's beaten. Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre again, Tommaso Ciampa, Chad Gable, Bronson Reed, and now The Miz. He just continues to add to his legacy. And it's a great thing to see. It is a great thing to see. And I'm very, very pleased with what Gunther is doing with the Intercontinental Championship. And I can absolutely, I can see Gunther going into WrestleMania with that championship. And I would absolutely love to see Gunther versus Chad Gable. Gunther and Chad Gable. Chad Gable can win the Intercontinental Championship. Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins. And then maybe we could very well see Damian Priest cash in. Or maybe if he doesn't cash in, maybe Priest goes for the Undisputed Universal Championship. Maybe we see Damian Priest cash in during Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Now, that would be intriguing. Maybe we see that. And maybe we see Punk versus Gunther at Bash in Berlin. I don't know. A lot of different routes that they can go. And I'm actually very much looking forward to seeing how everything plays out. But Gunther and Chad Gable, they look like they are on a collision course for WrestleMania. There's no better match to do at WrestleMania than Gunther and Chad Gable, with Chad Gable getting that win. Gunther retains. Very good match over The Miz. I would have loved to see it go another 5 minutes. Speaking of matches that I wish would have gone another 5 minutes. Matter of fact, I wish this match would have gone another 10 minutes. Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. Dragon Lee replaced Carlito, which I had absolutely no problem with. Matter of fact, Dragon Lee gave us the better match. But this was rather disappointing. Not to say that it was a bad match. Not to say that it was a terrible match, but 8 minutes? Is that all Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar are worth? 8 minutes? You really can't give them at least 12? How is it that you give Gunther and The Miz more time than Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee? This could have been an NXT Black and Gold takeover level match. And instead, this was no different than a Monday Night Raw match. A SmackDown Live match. This was no different than a Rampage match. Why exactly did these two only get 8 minutes? Very, very stupid. Very, very, very stupid. This should have been a top-tier showcase for both Escobar and Dragon Lee. This should have gone no less than 12, 13 minutes, and these two should have gone out there and they should have torn the house down. They should have given us, I'm not saying that they needed to give us a 20-minute classic, but I mean, come on. They should have gotten at least 13. 13 minutes minimum for Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. How is it that we had a better match on SmackDown with Axiom and Dragon Lee, more so than Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee, on a pay-per-view in front of 17,000 people? That should have been their showcase. That should have been their major showcase. We didn't get it. Rather disappointing. Not to say it was a bad match. We did get some interesting spots here. We got Escobar trying to take over control early. Dragon Lee then came in with a huge tope con hero over the top. Escobar then came back with a top rope Hurricane Rana for a 2. Lee then with a Tree of Woe double stomp. That got a 2. We had a big knee by Escobar. Big kick by Dragon Lee. The trigger by Escobar. And then Dragon Lee with a sit-out powerbomb. That got a 2. All of a sudden, just when the match was really starting to pick up, Escobar hits the Mexican Destroyer, and then he delivers the Phantom Driver, and Escobar gets the win. 8 minutes wasn't a bad match, but I mean, why exactly did this go 8 minutes? Why is it that you needed to cut them short? I understand. I do. I understand that the War Games stipulation, that right there is what you're selling Survivor Series on. But why can't we get a great undercard too? Why can't we get a match that resembles NXT Black and Gold TakeOver? Why is it that we cannot get a classic between Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. Very, very, very stupid. Just really left a bad taste in my mouth. That was probably the worst thing about Survivor Series. That was probably the thing that I was most pissed off about. Why did these two get their time cut? No reason why you can't have a great undercard to go in addition with the War Games matches. Look at what happened last year. Look at last year's War Games match. Last year's War Games match, we saw AJ Styles and Finn Balor get 18 minutes. And then we had a triple threat match between Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, and Austin Theory for the United States title. They got 16 minutes. Why couldn't you have given 16 minutes to Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar? Stupid. Santos Escobar gets the win, as he should. He is a priority right now, as he should be. Santos Escobar is the priority, and Santos Escobar will indeed be a major, major focal point going into 2024, and we will see Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar at WrestleMania 40. Zoe Stark. She took on Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's Championship. This went about 10 minutes, and this was probably Rhea Ripley's best title defense since her match with Natalya. Zoe Stark's very good. Rhea Ripley's very good. The only problem is that no one cares. No one cares about the women's division. The women's division, as we speak, is just very, very blah. At this rate, more people care about Rhea Ripley because of the ass pictures that she posts online, more so than her title reign. Rhea Ripley's title reign has been awful. Rhea Ripley's title reign has been one of the most unmemorable championship title reigns in the women's division in recent memory. But yet some people want to come out of the woodworks and claim that she's the wrestler of the year. No, she's not. No, she's not. Athena is the women's wrestler of the year. If you don't believe me, look at what her and Ronda Rousey did on Ring of Honor television this past Thursday. Rhea Ripley is not the women's wrestler of the year. Is she one of the best acts in WWE? Yes, but her women's title reign has been a complete afterthought. Her women's title reign has been jack shit. The match was fine. But no one gave a shit. And that's because WWE has not put a priority on women's wrestling. WWE has not put a priority on the women's championship. WWE has not put a priority on building up challengers. They haven't. This is what happens when you invest all your time in one woman. All they've been doing is investing all their time in Zoe Stark. Meanwhile, they've been investing their time in Rhea Ripley. I don't know why I said Zoe Stark. They've been investing all their time in Rhea Ripley. Meanwhile, Zoe Stark has been playing second fiddle to Trish Stratus when Trish Stratus was feuding with Becky Lynch. And Zoe Stark has had no momentum built up for herself. No momentum whatsoever. So why would people believe that Zoe Stark had a chance of beating Rhea Ripley? Nobody believed. Nobody believed. Rhea Ripley is as talented as they come. Rhea Ripley is a great women's wrestler. She's one of the best in the company. But when you invest all your time in one woman, rather than building up everyone else around that woman, ultimately, you are going to be left with what you got at Survivor Series. That was fine, but again, it was a bit of a quiet crowd. And again, that's what happens when you do not build up your undercard. That's what happens when you invest all your time in one individual and neglect everyone else. No one is going to feel credible standing toe-to-toe with said individual. It's happening with Rhea Ripley. It's happening with Roman Reigns. Sooner rather than later, it's probably going to happen with the Judgment Day, because there is really no tag team on WWE TV that genuinely feels like they could take the titles off the Judgment Day. Unless it's a mishmash tag team of Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, or Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, whoever you want to put in there. Zoe Stark, she knocked Rhea Ripley out of the ring, delivered a big crossbody. All of a sudden, Zoe Stark then with a DDT on Rhea Ripley on the apron. We had a corkscrew senton for a 2. Rhea then drove Zoe shoulder first into the post. Big suplex by Ripley. Ripley then slowed the pace down. Nice drop kick. Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark then were up on the top. Rhea Ripley with a choke slam of sorts to Zoe Stark. I'm not really sure what they were going for right there. Zoe Stark then with a spin kick. Kind of looked a little botchy. If we're going to be quite honest here. We had a side kick by Rhea. Rhea then with a back suplex. Face buster. Northern Lights suplex for a 2. Big German suplex by Zoe Stark. Running knee for a 2. Roundhouse kick by Zoe. Headbutt by Ripley. Riptide. And Rhea Ripley retains the Women's World Championship. Fine match. But again, nobody believed Zoe Stark had a chance. This is one of the biggest problems with WWE. You can go on and hate on AEW all you want, but AEW knows how to build up other talent. AEW knows how to build up other people. AEW knows how to build up talent to make them seem credible against their champions. Look at Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander, when she was fighting other women for the TBS championship when she was TBS champion. Sky Blue, she looked credible in there against Kris Statlander. Willow Nightingale, she looked credible in there against Kris Statlander. Julia Hart, she looked credible in there against Kris Statlander. You know why? Because they were building them all up through wins. They were giving them television time. They were investing heavy in them. And they weren't investing all their time in just one woman while neglecting everyone else. Is Toni Storm the only woman that you see on AEW television? No. Toni Storm isn't the only woman that you see on AEW television in a high priority role. You see Sheeta in there. You see Sky Blue. You see Julia Hart. You see Kris Statlander. That's what you need to do. You need to build up everyone. You can't just put all your effort into one individual. You want to say that, oh, Rhea Ripley's a star. Well, you know what? Being a star comes with a consequence. If you do not build up everyone to be on equal playing field and you invest all your time in one individual, you are ultimately going to invalidate the rest of your roster. That's what happens with Rhea Ripley. Everyone looks inferior compared to Rhea Ripley outside of Becky Lynch because Becky Lynch was already a made woman. Now Rhea Ripley's a made woman. No one else feels credible outside of those two individuals on Monday Night Raw. Nobody. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Randy Orton. They took on Drew McIntyre and the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day comprised of J.D. McDonough, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest. Randy Orton did not show up. He didn't show up until the very end of the match. I was wondering what the fuck they were doing here. I was wondering why exactly they were going forth with Randy Orton not showing up if CM Punk wasn't at least going to shock the world at the end of the show. In the end, we got CM Punk showing up. And if you guys want my thoughts on that, you can go back to the beginning of the stream. Because after this, we're going to talk about Collision. But this was a War Games match. And this was, hopefully, I hope to fucking Christ that this is the end. This is the culmination of everything that's been going on for the last 4 to 5 months with Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Rollins taking on the Judgment Day. And Cody Rhodes brought back Randy Orton so that way they have an even playing field. So, Randy Orton, he did not show up. Finn Balor and Seth Rollins started the match. Seth Rollins dove over the top. He dove over the top. And he took out Balor. Immediately, the crowd started chanting CM Punk. Crowd started chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. J.D. McDonough hit Seth Rollins with a kendo stick. He came in because the Judgment Day had the advantage. So J.D. McDonough came in. More CM Punk chants. Again, why would they tease that Randy Orton isn't showing up? Very, very, very stupid. Rollins was then worn down. The time elapsed, and in came main event Jey Uso. Jey Uso then brought in a steel chair. With every strike that he delivered, the crowd chanted, "Yeet, yeet, yeet." I thought that was great. I think that is a wonderful, wonderful addition to Jey Uso's character. So we had a Spanish fly by McDonough. Spanish fly by McDonough. Double super kicks by Rollins and Uso. Rollins then with a springboard axe handle on Balor. Priest then prevented Drew from entering the match, and he told him to stick to the plan. Trust me. Priest then came in, swarmed by Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. Priest was then taking it to Uso with a broken arrow. Priest with a rolling senton off the top rope onto Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. We then had more CM Punk chants, of course. The time elapsed again, and in came Sami Zayn. Sami then slammed the door in Balor's face. Sami got a table. The crowd was chanting, "Usi, Usi, Usi." And then they chanted, "Thank you, Sami." Sami Zayn became the biggest babyface of the night until Punk showed up, because Sami Zayn, he brought in a table. He brought in a table. JD and Sami, they were going up to the top of the cage. All of a sudden, Sami Zayn then grabbed a pipe. He grabbed a pipe from the top of the cage, and Sami Zayn started whipping everyone with the pipe. One after the other after the other. He started whipping them with the pipe. So the time elapsed, and in came Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre then threw Sami Zayn across the ring. He took out Rollins with a reverse Alabama slam, and reverse Alabama slammed him onto Sami Zayn. All of a sudden, Drew McIntyre eyed Jey Uso. He eyed Jey Uso. He went after Jey Uso, and he started taking out Jey Uso. And we finally got McIntyre getting his hands on Jey Uso inside the cage. So after that, we had Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso going after each other. All of a sudden, Sami Zayn comes in, and Sami Zayn and Jey Uso hit the 1D. They hit the 1D on Drew McIntyre. A little throwback to the Usos playbook right there. They hit the 1D. After they hit the 1D, we then had Cody Rhodes coming on in after the time elapsed. He brought in a bull rope. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins then used it on McDonough and then crotched the bull rope in between Balor's legs. So Balor got his balls twanged onto a bull rope. Rollins then asked if Randy was coming. The time elapsed, and in came Dominic Mysterio. Crowd was chanting, "Dom, you suck." Dom was then surrounded by the baby faces. Crowd was chanting, "You fucked up, you fucked up." All of a sudden, Judgment Day saved Dom from getting beaten down. Crowd chanted for Randy. Crowd chanted for Punk, Drew, and Priest. Then with a three-way choke slam. This was actually a really, 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 really nice spot. So Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, they had one individual on either side of their body. So I believe Priest had Sami, Drew McIntyre had Seth Rollins, and then they both met in the middle on Jey Uso, and we had a three-way choke slam on Rollins, Sami, and Jey. All of a sudden, JD McDonough came in with a moonsault. Finn Balor came in with a coup de grace. Dominic Mysterio came in with a frog splash. So 3 high spots, one after the other. They then set up a table, and Damian Priest delivered a razor's edge through the table to Seth Rollins. The time elapsed, and there was no Randy Orton. Things got really interesting here because all of a sudden, Rhea Ripley came out. Rhea Ripley came out with a referee and Damian Priest's Money in the Bank contract. Priest was going to cash in. All of a sudden, Randy Orton's theme song hits. I hear voices in my head. You hear that song? Crowd goes nuts. Randy Orton comes out looking jacked as all hell. I'm not sure if he's on a new workout regimen. I'm not sure if he's on the juice. But holy shit, Randy Orton looks like a beast. Randy Orton probably looks better than I've ever seen him. Jacked. Absolutely jacked. Randy Orton entered the match. Power slam on JD. Power slam on Dom. Draping DDT to Balor. Orton and McIntyre then locked eyes. The Judgment Day attacked. The babyfaces offered assistance. We had 5-way draping DDTs. Orton then looked at Jay. Jay with a super kick to Priest. RKO on Dom. Stomp on Priest. On the diamond plate by Seth Rollins. Cody Cutter by Cody on JD. Uso with an Uso splash. The babyfaces were in control. JD then tried to escape. Rollins and Sammy went up after JD. All of a sudden, Orton was down below, and Orton was motioning for Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins to throw JD down to him, and I knew exactly what he was going to do. One of the most insane RKOs ever. Randy Orton waited at the bottom. JD McDonough was tossed from the top of the cage into an RKO. Beautifully done. And then, in the end, Randy Orton gave the win to Cody by tossing Priest at Cody. Cody Rhodes with the Crossroads. 1, 2, 3. And Cody Rhodes gets the win. And Cody Rhodes and company, they defeat the Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre in what was a very good War Games match. And this War Games match was actually better than last year's men's War Games match with the Bloodline and the Brawling Brutes. That much I will say. It was a very good War Games match. It did what it needed to do, did their job, and that was that. So then all of a sudden, all 5 men are standing tall. All 5 men are standing tall. And all of a sudden, we see the little copyright logo. And in a similar fashion to what happened with the DIY days with Ciampa and Gargano, when Ciampa was causing everyone to fear of the copyright logo, and Ciampa always showed up whenever Gargano was ending the show. All of a sudden, the copyright logo flashed, and then before anything else happened, we hear the static go off. Cult of Personality hits the PA system. We hear, "Look in my eyes, what do you see?" And out comes CM Punk. The commentators are completely fucking silent. No words are being spoken. CM Punk comes out, absolutely insane. The crowd fucking explodes as Punk is embraced by the crowd to end the show. And WrestleVotes actually quoted this. This was absolutely the best kept secret of the entire year. Triple H talked about how it came together very, very quick. I'm excited. I am very, very excited for Raw. I am very, very excited for WWE. I'm very, very excited for WrestleMania season. This is undoubtedly the most excited that I've been as a wrestling fan since the days of DIY and their brawls, their absolute wars on NXT television. Easily one of the most exciting periods of wrestling since AEW first came around. It's going to be very, very intriguing. And I am absolutely going to hang on every single word and every single action that Punk does. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very, very fun. All in all, Survivor Series was a great show. Definitely one of the best Survivor Series shows that we've seen in the last decade. But before we get into Collision, I do have some news on CM Punk. Now, apparently the deal between WWE and CM Punk is believed to be several years in length. And the company and Punk had their first communications over the course of the last week. So when Triple H said that it came about very quickly, it did come about quickly. According to PW Insider, it came out very, very recently as well. Here's another incident that took place. Apparently, there was an issue with Seth Rollins. Obviously, we already saw the social media shitstorm with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, he clearly did not look happy that Punk is back. Clearly, he did not look happy. And he was seen flipping off CM Punk and cursing at CM Punk on a fan camera. Some fan recorded some footage on their phone and posted it on social media. Seth Rollins was not shy about expressing his feelings towards Punk, throwing up the birdies, throwing up the middle fingers. Rhea Ripley actually threw up a middle finger as well. And apparently, after the show was over, and we saw Seth Rollins and his team go to the back, apparently it was said that things were very heated backstage between Fightful as Seth Rollins was looking for CM Punk, and he actually had to be ushered away by Michael Cole and Triple H. Fightful stated, and I quote, "We're told that Punk looked confused and it was an awkward scene." The report goes on to further state that it is possible that the situations involving both Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, who allegedly stormed out of the arena, could be a work, though as of right now, it isn't known whether this is the case or not. Dave Meltzer actually came out and stated that the whole incident with Seth Rollins flipping off CM Punk, that was a work. Now, I don't know how much I believe that because Dave Meltzer, he's not always credible. I respect Dave Meltzer. I respect what he does. I respect what he brings to the table. But Dave Meltzer is not always credible. He's not. Dave Meltzer is not as credible as he once was. He doesn't have sources in WWE. He goes based off of what he hears. He goes based off of his assumptions. Now, I respect Dave Meltzer for the type of guy that he is, and I respect the fact that he's not afraid to express his opinion, and he's very, very stern. He's very opinionated. I respect the fact that he is very, very upfront and fair. Obviously, he has his biases, but at the end of the day, Dave Meltzer is professional at what he does. So I respect him, but he's not always credible. So I don't know if I believe that this was a work. It is very, very hard for me to believe that Seth Rollins, even though he was still kind of in character, it's not out of the realm of possibility to believe that Seth Rollins doesn't want CM Punk there. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't really understand why you would think that CM Punk and the incident with Seth Rollins would be a work, especially after the fact that Triple H stated that it was Punk, it was him, it was Nick Khan, it was very few people that knew Punk was going to be there. Rollins, he looked like he didn't even know what the fuck was going on. He didn't know that Punk was going to be there. He didn't know that Punk was going to be there whatsoever. So I don't really understand why people would even assume that this was a work. Not everything's a work in pro wrestling. Some things can be a work, some things cannot be a work, but I do not believe that Seth Rollins legitimately hating Punk is a work. If anything, Seth Rollins probably knows that his world title reign is essentially fucked. He's going to get his main event of WrestleMania, and so will Punk. Who do you think's winning that match, though? It's Punk. Punk and Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk's going to be your new World Heavyweight Champion by the time WrestleMania 40, night number 1, is over. That's just how it is. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that is what is going to happen. Rollins probably knows that, and he's probably not happy. What could this mean? Could this mean that Seth Rollins is going to leave? Could this mean that Seth Rollins, after his contract is up next year, is he and Becky, are they going to leave? Are they going to AEW? I don't know. Listen, if Punk came to AEW, if Punk came back to WWE, nothing is out of the realm of possibility. Now, Drew McIntyre is a different story. Drew McIntyre is a bit of a different story. Apparently, Drew McIntyre, he stormed out of the ring, threw on a hoodie, and he just left. Stormed out of the ring, threw on a hoodie, and left the arena. So he didn't even have a run-in with CM Punk. Or maybe he did and we're just not knowing, and we just don't know about it. Now, Drew left the ring, went to the back before Punk came out. I don't believe for 1 second that Drew McIntyre and the incident that happened with him has anything to do with Punk. I don't think Drew gives a shit about CM Punk. Well, what does he have to complain about with CM Punk? Punk didn't do anything to him. Punk never said anything wrong about him. What does he have to do with CM Punk? Nothing's going on between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. I'm not really sure why anyone would even contemplate over the fact that Drew McIntyre walked out of the arena, threw on a hoodie, and went home. I'm not even sure why anyone would even contemplate that had anything to do with Punk. If anything, Drew McIntyre is probably just done. Maybe the War Games match, maybe the creative got changed. Maybe the Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre were supposed to win. Maybe that was supposed to be the outcome before the baby faces. They won the match. Maybe Orton was supposed to turn on either Jay or Cody, and Drew and the Judgment Day were supposed to win. Maybe that was the planned ending, and then things changed around. I don't know. But if you're asking me, I read a report earlier in the week, according to PW Insider, WWE and Drew McIntyre, they haven't even entered into deep discussions over a new deal. They haven't even started to negotiate a new contract. Drew McIntyre, he's actually told those close to him that he's actually more than willing to let his current deal lapse if necessary to take a break for his family and the fact that they recently suffered the loss of his wife's sister. Now, there is no signs of any negative issues between WWE management and McIntyre, but McIntyre and WWE, even though there is no signs of any negative issues, I would not be shocked if Drew McIntyre is just done with the WWE. I would not be shocked if Drew McIntyre just wants to let the deal elapse, go forth, go home, and deal with the loss of his wife's sister, get the family back together, get everything in order, pay their respects and move on, and then maybe he comes back to WWE, or maybe Drew McIntyre is just done. Maybe Drew McIntyre is just done with all of WWE's booking. Maybe Drew McIntyre is just through with WWE. Maybe Drew McIntyre wants a fresh start. Drew McIntyre is another guy. I don't think he's going to be leaving because of Punk. I think he's just leaving because he's just done with WWE. Maybe he just wants to start fresh. Maybe he wants a new clean slate. Maybe Drew McIntyre just wants to get away from WWE. Maybe he wants a lighter schedule. Maybe he wants some more time to spend with his wife and with his family. Maybe that's it. Maybe that is it. Earl says, be careful, DJ Storms. Cherry is listening. Who the fuck cares? What is she going to do? What is she going to do? She got all pissy with me last time, and I didn't even do anything wrong. Look, she doesn't like my character. I'll be collaborating with her for the rundown for NXT Deadline. Maybe I can make her like me. Maybe I can make Cherry like DJ Shizzle Dizzle. But look, I don't give a fuck who likes me and who doesn't. Who the fuck cares what Cherry thinks? Who gives a fuck if she's listening? She can listen. She doesn't have to listen. She can listen. She cannot listen. She can like me. She cannot like me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck whatsoever. Why would I give a fuck if Cherry likes me or not? I don't know Cherry. I don't know her. She's your co-host. She's not mine. What did I say that's so wrong? I'm talking about Drew McIntyre and the fact that things are not going well with Drew McIntyre. Or maybe they are a work, maybe they're not. Maybe Drew's going to let his contract elapse, and then maybe he's not going to resign. Maybe he'll sign with AEW. Maybe he'll re-sign with WWE. I don't know what's going on with Drew. Everything is a big question mark. I'm just assuming. I am just assuming. And I have every right to assume. What, just because Cherry's a big fan of Drew McIntyre, that means I can't fucking talk about him? When did she become the gatekeeper of Drew McIntyre and the topic of Drew McIntyre? All she is a mark for McIntyre. That's who she is. There's nothing wrong with that. Cherry is a Drew McIntyre mark. That's who she is. Let her be that. It's no skin off my back. She can do whatever she wants, but I can do whatever the fuck I want too. Look, as long as she is not coming into my mentions and trying to start shit, I don't care what she does. I don't care if she's listening. Listen, this is my show. This is my show. I'm not going into her mentions and I'm not trying to start shit. This is my show. I can talk about whoever the fuck I want, whatever the fuck I want, however the fuck I want. The only person that dictates what I do is me. But Drew McIntyre, I don't think Drew McIntyre has any reason to leave WWE over Punk. With Rollins, I can absolutely see that there is an issue. And you know what? I can see more people, not just Rollins. I can see more people wanting to leave WWE to go to AEW because they don't want to be around Punk. I can see Becky Lynch leaving. I can see potentially Sami Zayn leaving, Kevin Owens, Sheamus. I can actually see Charlotte Flair leaving at some point. If Ric Flair is in AEW, you have to imagine that Ric Flair would probably want Charlotte Flair to go over to AEW to have a nice, well-rounded career. I don't know. Everything's a big question mark, but I can absolutely see why there are backstage issues. Now, is it going to result in any backstage brawls? Is it going to result in any physical confrontations? No. But there are a lot of people that don't want Punk there. And there are going to be some people that are going to be willing, more than willing, to leave WWE when their contracts are up to go to AEW because they don't want to be around Punk. And Rollins is one of those individuals that I can see. Drew McIntyre, I don't see him leaving because of Punk. I just see him leaving because he wants a fresh start. Maybe he's done with WWE. But regardless, Survivor Series was a great show. Hot Chicago crowd. 2 very good War Games matches. Gunther and The Miz put on a very good match. Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee and Zoe Stark and Rhea Ripley. Monday Night Raw matches on pay-per-view. But regardless, an overall great show. Easily WWE's probably 3rd or 4th best pay-per-view of the year. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what happens tomorrow on Raw. It's going to be fun. Thank you guys for sticking by me. We've had a great stream thus far. Thank you very much to Earl. Thank you very much to King of Hugo Mundo. Thank you very much to Sarah Habka. Thank you very much to Grega John. Thank you very much to James Punaseca. You guys have been great all stream, and I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. Please make sure that you are sharing the stream out on all platforms, social media. We're going to talk about Collision, and then we are going to get on out of here. I got to go, and I got to do some errands. I probably need to get some food from the supermarket. I'll probably need to go and I got to start shopping for Christmas at some point. I mean, holy shit, Thanksgiving is over. Thanksgiving's over. Tomorrow starts billing week. Tomorrow starts billing week for work. Unbelievable. I swear to God, I am really, really going to need some extra motivation. So if you guys, please share the stream out. Let's get some more subscribers on here. Yo, King of Hugo Mundo, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you better subscribe to my channel, brother. You better subscribe to my channel. Collision. We actually got a very good show for Collision. We got some really, really, really solid wrestling. We got some solid wrestling. We got some storyline progression. We got some storyline advancement. We got a big match confirmed for Dynamite in Montreal, actually. So we are going to talk about it all. Let's talk about the opening of the show. The opening of the show saw Daniel Garcia versus Claudio Castagnoli. This was the Blue League starter for the AEW Continental Classic. AEW Continental Classic. Blue League match. We got a very good match. Very good match here between Daniel Garcia and Claudio Castagnoli. Really nothing crazy, really nothing over the top. So Claudio was in control early on. Claudio then swung Garcia into the barricade, one side to the other. Garcia then came back with a guillotine. Nice guillotine by Daniel Garcia. He then transitioned into a rear naked choke, then transitioned into an ankle lock. So he was going transition for transition for transition. Claudio then with a big lariat. Claudio then locked Garcia in the sharpshooter. Garcia got out. Pop-up uppercut by Claudio. Garcia kicked out. Garcia then, he caught another uppercut and a Ricola bomb, and Daniel Garcia loses. Claudio Castagnoli earns 3 points in the AEW Continental Classic. And we got ourselves a hell of a week next week with the Continental Classic, because next week on the Continental Classic, we got Roosh and Mark Briscoe in the Gold League. We got Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal in the Gold League. And we got Jay White and Swerve Strickland in the Gold League. I mean, holy shit. Holy shit. I am really looking forward to that. So, after that, Eddie Kingston, he cut a promo. He stated how he wanted to make this tournament the most prestigious tournament in America, which is exactly why he put 2 titles on the line. And Eddie Kingston was looking forward to his match on the show against Big Bad Brody King. Killswitch, a.k.a. Luchasaurus. Killswitch versus the Boys. Killswitch versus the Boys. Killswitch just destroyed the Boys. Chokeslam to Brent on the apron, and then a lariat to the back of the head. He then brought in some chairs. He then chokeslammed Brent on a chair, and out came Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland then went after Killswitch. He then busted Killswitch in the back with a chair. He then took the chair leg. He took a chair leg and locked in a crossface with the chair leg on Killswitch. He then did a concerto to Killswitch. Adam Copeland was standing tall. And then out of nowhere, this was great right here. Killswitch, a.k.a. Luchasaurus, he was getting up. First time ever, I think I've seen anyone no-sell or at least try and get up from a concerto. He was getting up. And then Copeland with a curb stomp to Killswitch on the chair. And then he delivered a second concerto. And this was great. Adam Copeland going nuts. Crazy Adam Copeland, crazy edge. When Copeland is crazy and when Copeland is sadistic, when he just goes out there and causes chaos, that right there is one of the best versions of Adam Copeland. That is a great version of Adam Copeland. So I love this because Copeland is taking them out one by one. One by one by one, Copeland is taking them out. Copeland then had a backstage segment. He stared into the camera and he goes, "You see what just happened to your prodigy? You see what just happened to Killswitch? Christian Cage, this is because of your insecurities. I couldn't care less about anyone that talked about you being inferior to me or me being the guy that you ride his coattails. I didn't care about any of that. I could care less what people say. I said that our friendship is more important than this business, but you couldn't get past your own insecurities. Now, could you? What you were about to do, you were about to concerto Sting, and you were about to concerto Shane O'Wayne. You know, I got a short fuse, and I wasn't going to fight you. I wasn't going to give in. But then you said you were going to break my neck, and now you're threatening my family's future. You mentioned my girls. Now I'm going to hurt you. Now I'm hunting you. Ask Killswitch what happens when I snap. I will kick your face in, and I will take your TNT title. Even though that's going to be an added bonus for me, I am challenging you on Dynamite December 6th, Montreal, Copeland versus Cage for the TNT Championship. And I will take the title from you. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it. This is story. This is exactly what we needed with AEW. Adam Copeland has come in, and within 2 months, Adam Copeland has given a shot of adrenaline to AEW TV. So look at what we have. Look at what we have on AEW TV. The Continental Classic, Copeland and Christian Cage, MJF and the Devil, heading into World's End. We got Final Battle coming up. We got World's End coming up. Look at all the great material that we got going on AEW side of the fence, and everyone is so fucking worried that CM Punk is going to be the death of fucking AEW. CM Punk going to WWE is going to cause AEW to go out of business. Oh, look at the ratings for Rampage. Look at the ratings for Collision. Look at the ratings for Dynamite. Shut the fuck up, you fucking retards. My God. It's bad enough I got to deal with Jay Leto saying that utter retardation. I don't need to deal with anyone else. Great guy. Terrible wrestling fan is Jay Leto. This is why I exist. And I will look him dead in the eye, and I've looked him dead in the eye, in the face to face, and I've said this. I exist because he can't do his job. House of Black. House of Black, I'm getting all out of sorts here. House of Black, they took on Gravity and Commander. We actually got a very good match right here. Lucha Libre is alive and well on AEW television. House of Black put on a very good match with Gravity and Commander. Commander tried to gain the early advantage on Black. Black then with a German suplex. Coming back from commercial, we had a tag to Gravity. We had a double crossbody by Gravity on the House of Black. Buddy then threw Gravity into the knee of Black. Tag to Commander, double drop kick, and a satellite DDT on Matthews. We had a gutbuster by Commander for a 2. So Gravity tried to take out Malachi Black. It almost looked like a cutter of sorts. Gravity's still a little bit rough around the edges. Listen, Gravity's the brother of Bandito. Bandito is clearly the better wrestler. Gravity's a little bit rough around the edges. Gravity's got a little bit of a ways to go. Not to say that he's bad, but he's a little clunky at times. Some nights Gravity's on, some nights he's a little clunky. Listen, I'm very, very fair. I gotta call that out when I see it. But after that, we saw Commander do the tightrope walk plancha, which was beautiful. Looks great every time. Commander and Gravity then went up top. They went for the double splashes, but the House of Black got their knees up. House of Black with double V-triggers and a double pop-up knee to Gravity. Black then sat in the ring while Commander was crawling towards him, and Malachi Black was like, come on, come on. This was great. This I loved. Black was sitting in the ring telling Commander to come on, come on, come on. Buddy Matthews came out of nowhere and just hit the curb stomp, stomping Commander's head into the mat. 1, 2, 3, and the House of Black win. Very good match. I thought that this was going to go a bit shorter, but I'm glad that it didn't. This was very good, and I'm very, very happy that they gave him time. Really, really, really solid stuff right here. And Sarah, I do agree. The House of Black should absolutely win the tag team titles at a certain point in time. Dante Martin. Dante Martin is back, and he is now partnered with Action Andretti and Darius Martin, his brother. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I would actually love to see them win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles, or maybe even win the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team titles. I think that they would be perfect opponents for the Mogul Embassy at Final Battle. That would be a great match for sure. Julia Hart. She took on Lady Frost. This was a TBS Championship House Rules Open Challenge. Pretty standard match right here. Nothing too crazy. Julia Hart gets the win. And I'm excited to see what Julia Hart does going forward. But as of right now, this was nothing more than a showcase match. We'll have to wait and see who else they are going to feed to Julia Hart going forward. I want to see her against Sheeta. I want to see her against Baker. I want to see her against Ruby Soho potentially. I want to see her against Willow Nightingale. I want to see her against, if they want to, I would not mind seeing Athena drop the Ring of Honor Women's Championship to Kris Statlander, and then Athena comes on in and Athena potentially challenges Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. That I would like. That would be interesting. But Julia Hart, I'm very interested in seeing what she does going forward. She has grown leaps and bounds. Really just a standard match. Really nothing too crazy. Just a showcase match, because now she is the TBS champion and you need to give her some challengers. We had FTR FTR versus the Righteous. FTR versus the Righteous. And we got ourselves a decent little match right here. The Righteous are very good. The Righteous are very good. The Righteous, they are extremely, and I mean extremely, extremely underrated. How you doing, How Wheezy? How you doing? So FTR was isolated by the Righteous. We had Dutch. Dutch came on in, and Dutch just hit a wicked crossbody on Dax. Dax then tried to fire back. He then chopped Vincent. Dax then tagged in Cash. He lit up Vincent with a flying forearm. Cash saw that Dutch made the tag, and Dutch delivered a beautiful, and I mean a beautiful boss man slam. I love Dutch's boss man slam. That right there is probably one of my favorite moves from Dutch. Boss man slam by Dutch, and Cash kicked out. So Cash kicked out. We had some back and forth offense. All of a sudden, we had a tag to Dax. Shatter Machine. Dax covered. Vincent, 1, 2, 3. FTR gets a rebound win after they lost the Fatal 4-Way ladder match at Full Gear. All of a sudden, the lights go out and the House of Black come through the crowd, and they said that no one is coming to save you now. Not Claudio or Cesaro. They actually called him Cesaro. Not Cesaro. Not Yuta. No CM Punk. This place is not the brotherhood you think it is. The lights then go out, lights come back on, and then the lights go out, and the lights come back on, and the House of Black is nowhere to be seen, and you just hear Aleister Black or Malachi Black. You just hear him laughing. You just hear Malachi Black laughing in the distance, and I'm assuming that we're going to get FTR versus the House of Black at some point, although I wish we could have gotten a little bit more. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more here. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more oomph, because it just kind of seemed like a pointless segment. So I understand that the House of Black is just playing mind games with FTR, but I would have liked a little bit more. I would have liked a little bit more importance on the undercard for Collision. That's just me. Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone interviewed Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Starks said that Jericho is like a vampire, trying to cling on to him and suck the life out of him. Big Bill then said, "You call yourself the Golden Jets, you're more like the Golden Girls." Starks said, "Me and Bill, we don't even know each other very well, but I know how he is built." Bill then talked about how he went through seizures from alcoholism and alcohol withdrawal. He went through seizures, and how he said that no one thought he would ever amount to anything, but he always knew that he would make it back to the top. Now I am back at the top. And the crowd was actually appreciating him. Seems like Big Bill is coming off like a babyface. He promised to embarrass Kenny and Chris. Kenny and Chris, when I look at you, I don't see Jordan, Pippen, Kerr, Rodman, Harper, or Bill Wennington. All I see is the dudes that hand Jordan his bubble gum before the starting lineups are introduced. Starks then said, "After we're done, I just want to let you both know Starks likes his gum minty fresh, and Bill likes his gum big red." Simple and effective. I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do at World's End. World's End, if you take a look at World's End is looking like a pretty damn good show. We're going to get Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. You know we're going to get that. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. We're going to get MJF and Samoa Joe. We're going to get the Golden Jets versus Ricky Starks and Big Bill. We're going to get potentially the House of Black and FTR. We're going to get the winners of the Continental Classic Blue League and Gold League. They're going to face off in the finals. Continental Classic finals. How can you not be hyped up for World's End? World's End looks fantastic. I'm excited. I'm really excited for World's End. Keith Lee and Lee Moriarty. This was a pretty standard match right here. Keith Lee, seemingly he's on TV, then he's off TV, then he's on TV, then he's off TV. Pretty standard match. Keith Lee gets the win with the ground zero. Afterwards, Keith Lee was interviewed by Lexi Nair, and he said that he's sick of the lack of opportunities and he's going to take them. That means him, and you know who you are. Not really sure who Keith Lee is talking about, but if anything, I'll tell you what I would love. I would love to see Keith Lee challenge Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. I would love to see Keith Lee win the International Championship. I think that that would be a great match for World's End, and I think that would be a big win for Keith Lee. See what happens, but Keith Lee, pretty standard match with Lee Moriarty. Very, very forgettable. I'll tell you what wasn't forgettable, though. The main event. We had a great match that really gave Mark Briscoe and Jon Moxley a run for its money. Brody King and Eddie Kingston in the Blue League Continental Classic match. Mitch Kovsky says Keith Lee is better than Orange Cassidy. Shut up, Mitch. Keith Lee is awesome. I will say that. Eddie Kingston and Brody King. Blue League Continental Classic match. We had some really, really, really stiff, and I mean some stiff chops between these guys. King dissected Kingston. King then he was dropped face first into the steps. Coming back from commercial, King with a superplex on Kingston. Kingston then came back with some lariats and a big clothesline, sending King down to the mat. We had the machine gun chops in the corner. Big German suplex by King. Spinning back fist by Eddie Kingston, but Brody King kicked out. We had some big chops by Kingston and King. Kingston then uncorked a nasty chop. King answered back with some more chops. We had an enziguri and a DDT by Kingston. That got a 2. Brody King then with a Uranagi. Big exploder on Brody King by Eddie Kingston. Half and half suplex. Backdrop driver. Brody King kicked out again. King with a pile driver. Kingston kicked out. Spinning back fist by Kingston yet again. Brody King stayed on his feet and he hit Dante's Inferno. 1, 2, 3. And Brody King gets the win in a great match to close out AEW Collision, and Brody King gets 3 points in the AEW Continental Classic. And that was AEW Collision. Even though it was a rewind for Survivor Series, we ended up reviewing Rampage and Collision as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Rewind, the long edition of the Rewind, a little bit over 2 hours. Hopefully those watch hours go up significantly. I would like to thank each and every single one of you for tuning into the stream. Thank you very much to Howie. Thank you very much to Mitch Kovsky. Thank you very much to Sarah Hapka. Thank you very much to Earl Cole. Thank you very much. You guys were fantastic. Always appreciate every single one of you. You guys are awesome. And I hope that you guys had a great post-Thanksgiving weekend. I'm going to get on out of here, and I will be back with the Lightning Flash update. I'll be back with the Lightning Flash update sooner rather than later. I could be doing something on Saturday. I might be doing something on Saturday, so I may very well do a midweek Lightning Flash update. I may do a mini Flash update probably on Thursday, and maybe I might take Saturday off. It all depends. But I will let you guys know. Until then, thank you very much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, people, you already know the drill. Who runs the IWC? Let me take a sip of my ice water. You already know the drill, people. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms? Don't you forget it. Don't you ever forget it.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience for your love.